AskReddit. Police officers, what's the dumbest thing you've ever seen a criminal do or say? I was police at the time. In the middle of the night, my partner and I found a car in a cemetery. Stolen cars were dumped there regularly. The car had its windows down and it had only recently been left there. It was still warm to touch. It didn't flag up as stolen, and through the window I could see a meth pipe in plain view. That gives us the ability to search the car. Inside we find a bunch of meth pipes, 3.5 grams of meth, a small amount of cannabis and a handgun. There was also a tablet phone that was unlocked, and while we were searching the car, the tablet kept on receiving messages from people trying to score meth. I had a quick look through the phone and was able to figure out that the owner of the car had come out from the city. I worked rurally at the time to make a score from one of the local gangs, but the gang didn't want her turning up, so arranged to meet her at the cemetery and conduct business somewhere else. I leave a business card under the wipers, not my card but the station's, and on the back I wrote that she, the owner of the car, should come down to the station if she wants to get her stuff back. And sure enough she did. At 9 the next morning, methed out, looking for her drugs and gun. So my personal favorite was when a bloke on a motorbike swerved in front of our squad car and crashed. We hopped out, picked the bike up off him, it was pinning his leg, and asked, "You alright mate?" To which he replied, "Of course I'm alright, what do you mean?" "Well, you just fell off your bike mate." "No I didn't." He just kept insisting that there was no way he could have crashed and it must have been someone else. Edit: for those concerned, it was a head injury. He did blow a .17 when tested, so we chalked it up to that. I'm not a police officer, but I called the cops on my roommate in college because she tried to attack me and she wouldn't cooperate with the cops, so she got cuffed and was screaming about how she was gonna beat my ass. They were like, "Yeah, you were gonna beat her ass?" And she was agreeing. Mayo. Suspect was caught for drug possession on the streets, and we were talking to the prosecutor to get a warrant for his house. Somehow, he managed to call his wife without a notice, and as we realized what happened we heard him saying, "Honey, go take the fish out of the fridge." After we've got the warrant and searched his house, there was his fridge full of speed and a plate with fish, which his wife had prepared for his return, thrown in the trash. Retired cop here. Boy do I have stories. One dumbest move a guy did was he steals some poor girl's car. It was her first car. She worked full time, was a sweet little thing, and we felt so bad. She was crushed. Also in the car for some reason was her cell phone. So a colleague who has the gift of talking shit really well calls the number. Dude answers. It goes a little something like this: "Cop, motherfucker, you stole my girlfriend's car." "Bad guy, bitch, I will fuck you up then fuck your bitch." "Cop, bring it, motherfucker." "No cops, no friends, me and you. I'm at the Chevron on Main Street and 5th. "Pussy, I'm calling your bitch ass out." "Bad guy, bitch, I'm on my way." Click. "Me no fucking way, here's coming." Dude rounded the corner and pulls into the gas station. We hid our cars behind it, and then when he parked we boxed him in. He had a gun too. Fucking idiot. On probation. Had a loaded gun. Came to us. Edit: a news story by popular demand. A few questions. Yes, he showed up in the stolen car with a friggin' shaved key in the ignition. He used to steal it. Because people liked it so much, I talked to the original cop who has the gift of talking shit. He said a few months later in court the guy claimed the gun was not his, as we found it under the driver's seat. He said it must be hers. So fucked up. But the jury didn't buy it. We saw him shoving some gin from his waist under his seat when he saw us. Also yes, the look on his face was classic. It went from "I'm gonna kill this dude" to the look a prey animal gets when it knows it's fucked. He was killed a few years later in a chase in another stolen car. Was ejected. Doa. So working one busy Saturday night, there was a huge brawl with about 20 brothers in front of a club. Yeah, I know. Affliction shirts, tap out shirts and Monster Energy hats with flat bills galore lol. So we get there and start grabbing dudes, searching real quick, then stuffing them in the nearest car, then jumping back into the fray because we were fighting with them too. So it all dies down and immediately we get a call. I forget what it was, but we got a go lights and sirens to it. I run to my car, nobody in it. Sweet, I get to go. So I jump in my car and I'm hauling ass lights and siren to this new call for a few minimums. Apexing, turns it's 2 AM and foggy, not really anyone on the roads. Remember that 2 AM and foggy. So I'm rolling down this street in the fog with my lights and siren, and I see an object with a hoodie on its head slowly slide up behind me in my rear view. The jail's that way. Where you taking me? I was going fairly fast on a straightaway, and I nearly fucking stacked it up into a pole when I was scared shitless. I jerked the wheel and a little pee came out, I do admit. I pulled over and had to pace a few minimums outside the car to calm down. So the guy was stuffed into my car by some other officer, and because he was drunk he just laid down on the floorboard, put his hoodie on and passed out. I woke him up by yanking and banking and slamming him into the doors of the car lol. I took him back to the club and no officer claimed him. So I just took the dude home and we laughed about it the whole way. I told him I totally beat. Friend who is an officer told me this one a little bit ago. He was driving near where a known car thief lived, so he stops by, sub in the driveway with no tags, walks up, runs the VIN, stolen. Now the property had a house on it, and then out back, a small mother-in-law suite, where said thief lived. Officer walks out back, knocks, and then hears a car door. Officer starts running, engine starts, and yup, thief is driving away in the stolen SUV. Officer knows where he ditches stolen cars at, so has an officer stake out that area. Sure enough, 2 hours later the SUV rolls up with a Jeep following it. SUV driver wipes down the dash, wipes down the outside door handle, and gets in the Jeep. Officer pulls them over and arrests them both. Why both? The Jeep is stolen. Officer runs her license, send another officer to her address, and guess what? She had a stolen car at her place. 3 stolen cars recovered, 2 people in jail, all because one officer decided to stop by a thief's last address. I was waiting to report an incident at a local police station when a clearly distraught man came in wheezing and sweating. I wasn't in a rush, so I let him go ahead of me. I've been robbed. They took everything, he exclaimed when he reached the counter. The officer working the desk asked him the usual what, where, why, and how sort of questions. The gentleman proceeds to explain that he was a local meth dealer and he just got robbed of his entire stash while selling to some teens at the local train station. The officer just said that there's not anything they can do about that, and it's in his best interest to just leave before more questions are raised, and he incriminates himself further. He was fuming and stormed out of the place, slamming the door behind him. I reached the counter and made an offhand comment towards the office. That must be a first for you. Apparently not. Apparently drug dealers often come in to report theft of their illicit substances. Not my story, but my police officer friend's. He had gone in to arrest someone for dealing drugs. He was in full uniform, whilst someone else had already been in there undercover. The drug dealer looks at the undercover police officer and says, "You're undercover." "Yes." "Well done." He looks at my uniformed friend and says, "You're undercover too." He was not. Then he looks at someone else, not a police officer, and says, "And you?" Guy responds with, "How am I an undercover police officer? I just bought drugs off of you." And that's how they made an unexpected arrest at that raid. Not a cop, student paramedic here. Once went to a family with a 2-year-old with difficulty breathing. Walked into the house to find 4 people and the parents smoking weed with the baby in the room. Baby was crying and coughing/spluttering. Couldn't believe my eyes. My mentor swiftly rang for police backup and we filled out some safeguarding paperwork concerns. Pretty sure they arrested them on scene for neglect. Dad's a detective. Had a murder case where a dog walker found a severed head in a park. Over the rest of the morning they found a full set of chopped up body parts around that park. A trail of blood led from each part, and they followed them all the way back to a nearby house, in through the door, and up the stairs to a room covered in blood with a guy asleep in a bed. Turns out this guy had got drunk with a friend, had an argument, killed him, chopped him up, and hid his body parts in the park before passing out back at the house. Police caught him literally red-handed. Apparently he was really confused how they got him so quickly. All the people from To Catch a Predator. NBC has online transcripts, and they still come up with the stupidest excuses. Chris Hansen, "Sir, what else could you mean by asking the girl if she was a virgin and then telling her you wanted to penetrate her anally?" Predator, "I'm just here to watch football, man. She told me she was 18. Hansen, "In the transcripts you clearly say she's 13. You could get in trouble for this and ask her not to tell anyone."
Thanks for watching.
watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into our iMac giveaway.